The film Doctor Zhivago, 1965, captivated the world with its romantic love story amidst the flames of revolution. But few expected that in real life, this legendary cast had to endure tragedies even more severe than on screen. Some died of illness, some died alone, and all shared the same tragic fate. Who were they? And what fate took away such talent? Let's learn their names and honor their legacies. Let's get started. Omar Sharif as Yuri Zhivago. Omar Sharif, born Michel Youssef Dimitri Chaloub, was born on April 10, 1932 in Alexandria, Egypt. At the age of 33, he played Yuri Zhivago in Doctor Zhivago, 1965. A doctor and poet torn between duty and love during the Russian Revolution. The role made Sharif an international star, portraying a romantic but tragic character that in some ways mirrored his own later life. Behind his illustrious career, Sharif's personal life was filled with deep sadness. His marriage to actress Faten Hamama, whom he loved so much that he converted to Christianity to marry her, ended after nearly 2 decades, leaving him perpetually lonely. Separated from his wife and children by filming schedules and political restrictions from the Egyptian government, he wandered across Europe, where hotel rooms became his home. The loss of family ties drove him to nights of gambling, where luck and chance became temporary remedies for the longing for belonging in his heart. His gambling addiction has caused his fortune to plummet and has drawn him into scandal. He was given a suspended sentence in Paris for assaulting a casino employee, and another time he had a run-in with the police in Italy. He has gone from being a well-groomed, elegant man to a tabloid fixture for such incidents. At the same time, his film career faded, reduced to small roles, with little connection to the screen. In his final years, as Alzheimer's disease ravaged his memory, Sharif often forgot the very films that had brought him glory, a bitter paradox for a film legend. On July 10, 2015, Omar Sharif died in Cairo of a heart attack at the age of 83. His funeral, with a coffin draped in the Egyptian flag, was held at the Ceuta Nafisa Cemetery. At the time, his net worth was only about $2 million, a modest amount compared to his former fame, much of which was lost to gambling and a vagabond lifestyle. Rod Steiger as Victor Komarovsky. Rod Steiger was born on April 14, 1925 in West Hampton, New York, United States. At age 40, he played Victor Komarovsky in Doctor Zhivago, 1965. A calculating businessman whose villainous relationship with Laura left audiences both scorned and captivated. The role cemented Steiger's reputation for intense, haunting acting, establishing him as one of Hollywood's most iconic figures. Off-screen, Steiger's life was fraught with stress and scars. His childhood was marked by pain, his mother struggling with alcoholism, and his father's absence, leaving him insecure and desperate for recognition. As an adult, he sought solace in love, but was repeatedly unsuccessful. 5 marriages, including a 10-year one to actress Claire Bloom, ended amid accusations of control and infidelity. The breakup left him deeply lonely, and he admitted that it pushed him to the brink of suicide. By the 1970s, Steiger was still a household name, having won an Oscar for In the Heat of the Night, 1967. But his spirit was in decline. Nearly a decade of clinical depression, along with 2 heart surgeries during that time, had devastated both his health and his career. More than once, he was forced to take roles in B-movies just to survive, which he found painful because he felt it stripped him of his artistic worth. He once said that such emotional pain was not something to be ashamed of, but rather a necessary part of being human, a confession that was both tragic and courageous. On July 9, 2002, Rod Steiger died in Los Angeles of pneumonia and kidney failure, complications from surgery to remove a gallbladder tumor at the age of 77. He was buried at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills Cemetery, the resting place of many film legends. At his death, his net worth was estimated at $8 million, modest compared to his illustrious career, but his true legacy lies in the raw, gritty characters he brought to life on screen. Alec Guinness as Yevgraf Zhivago. Sir Alec Guinness was born on 2nd April 1914 in Maida Vale, London. At the age of 51, he played General Yevgraf Zhivago in Doctor Zhivago, 1965, Yuri's cold and stern half-brother and narrator of the film. This was one of 6 collaborations between Guinness and director David Lean, cementing his reputation as a master actor, alongside such British stage greats as Laurence Olivier and Ralph Richardson. Despite a career that had brought him an Oscar for The Bridge on the River Kwai and worldwide recognition for his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, Guinness found such fame a burden. He bluntly called Star Wars trash and felt uncomfortable being associated with the Jedi. His calm and directness were often criticized, but they also showed an artist who did not allow himself to be constrained by any single image or symbol. In his private life, Guinness was reserved, devoted to his wife Marula Salomon, with whom he remained from 1938 until his death. Their enduring marriage belied persistent rumors about his private and reserved personality. He avoided scandal but lived in an inner struggle, a stern, disciplined man who often appeared aloof, even to an adoring public. In his old age, Guinness was plagued by prostate cancer that had spread to his liver, rapidly deteriorating his health. On 5 August 2000, Sir Alec Guinness died in West Sussex at the age of 86. His funeral was held quietly at St. Lawrence Catholic Church in Petersfield, Hampshire, before he was buried in the local cemetery. At his death, Guinness left an estate worth around $7 million, a figure that reflected a lifetime of success. But his true legacy is much greater. The unforgettable characters he brought to the world, from Colonel Nicholson in The Bridge on the River Kwai to Yevgraf Zhivago and Obi-Wan Kenobi, are forever etched into cinematic history. Julie Christie as Lara Antipova. Julie Frances Christie was born on April 14, 1941, in Chabwa, Assam, India, where her father ran a tea plantation. At the age of 25, she made film history with her role as Lara Antipova in Doctor Zhivago, 1965. Yuri Zhivago's lover, the embodiment of passion and suffering amid the storm of the Russian Revolution. Julie Christie's fragile beauty and emotional performance made her one of the brightest stars of the 1960s, captivating audiences around the world. However, behind the glamour was a childhood filled with separation. Her parents divorced when she was young, and Christie lived with her mother, spending many years away from home in boarding school. This lack of emotional security made her question marriage and family, which was clearly reflected in her later choices. When Hollywood hit the red carpet, she felt stifled by the intrusion of the press and the pressures of fame. She turned down lucrative blockbuster roles, missing out on opportunities that could have made her a box office queen. Her relationship with actor Warren Beatty from 1967 to 1973 shocked the entertainment world, but ended in heartbreak, making Christie wary of the fragility of love. She then chose a more private life, staying away from Hollywood and only taking roles that she truly wanted. From the late 1970s, she shared a life with journalist Duncan Campbell, a strong but non-committal relationship until the two quietly married in 2007 when she was 66. Christie's life was a journey of freedom, of escaping the impositions of fate and society. In 2025, Julie Christie will be 85 years old. She lives a quiet life on a farm in Wales, away from the noise of fame, devoting her time to environmental causes, animal welfare, and anti-nuclear campaigns. Despite her rare public appearances, Christie is still considered one of Britain's greatest actresses, with an estimated net worth of $10 million. However, her true worth lies not in the numbers, but in the timeless image of Lara Antipova, the role that forever etched Julie Christie's name in the hearts of audiences. Ralph Richardson as Alexander Gromeko. Sir Ralph David Richardson was born on December 19, 1902, in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, England. At the age of 63, he played Alexander Gromeko in Doctor Zhivago, 1965, Tanya's aristocratic father, a figure who symbolized the decadent Russian intelligentsia swept away by the revolution. With his calm demeanor and deep resonant voice, Richardson gave the film an air of dignity that perfectly reflected his own status in real life. Richardson's childhood, however, was far from smooth. His parents separated when he was 5, and Ralph was raised in shaky circumstances by his devoutly religious mother. She initially planned for him to become a priest, but Richardson dropped out of school and began a journey to find his true self. His first artistic passion was painting, but his failures in this area led him to the stage, where he quickly proved himself a prodigious performer, from the Old Vic to London's West End. The hardships of his youth forged a distinctive personality, sometimes eccentric, sometimes carefree, but always brilliant on stage. His private life was less turbulent than that of many of his contemporaries. After a brief first marriage ended tragically, when his wife died young, he remarried actress Mariel Forbes and remained faithful to her for the rest of his life. Known for his pranks, he once walked his pet mouse in public and even interrupted the audience to ask, "Is this play bad?" Behind these quirks, however, he was a serious artist, devoted to his craft. His film career paralleled his stage successes, with more than 60 screen roles, including The Fallen Idol and Long Day's Journey into Night. On October 10, 1983, Sir Ralph Richardson died in London after suffering a stroke at the age of 80. His funeral was modest, but his death marked the end of a golden era of classical British theatre. His net worth was estimated at $2 million, but the true measure of his legacy was not his money, but his artistry, eccentric charm, and poetic acting style that made him one of the immortal legends of stage and screen. Noel Willman as Risen. Noel Willman was born on August 4, 1918, in Derry, Ireland. In 1965, at the age of 47, he appeared in the film Doctor Zhivago as Razin, a small revolutionary whose presence in many scenes helped to paint a panoramic picture of historical upheaval. By then, Willman was already a familiar face on both British and American stage and film, and had also established himself as an accomplished director and actor. But behind the spotlight, Willman's life was filled with tension. Born and raised in Europe's turbulent years, he turned to art as an escape. His stage career was steeped in philosophical and political plays, and he shouldered the enormous pressure of managing large-scale productions. His career peaked in 1962, when he won a Tony for A Man for All Seasons, but that success only added to the burden of maintaining his reputation in the fiercely competitive world of theater. Willman did not limit himself to directing. He returned to acting frequently, working with such greats as Paul Scofield, Alec Guinness, Katharine Hepburn, and Christopher Reeve. However, his exacting standards and perfectionism often made him a loner. Little is known about his personal life, but colleagues described him as someone who was completely absorbed in his work, rarely showing sadness or fatigue. However, that dedication gradually drained him in his later years. On December 24, 1988, Noel Willman died in New York at the age of 70. The cause of death was not publicly announced, although many believe he had been battling a long battle with illness. With an estimated net worth of $3 million, Willman left behind not only material wealth, but also an artistic legacy that spanned both stage and screen. Although he passed away quietly, he is still remembered as a devoted artist, living fully with passion until his last breath. Bernard Kay as the Bolshevik. Bernard Frederick Bemrose. Kay was born on 23 February 1928 in Bolton, Lancashire, England. At the age of 37, he he appeared in the classic film Doctor Zhivago, 1965, playing a minor Bolshevik character set in the war, a small role that would become the embodiment of one of cinema's greatest epics. Kay had previously worked as a journalist before turning to the stage, gradually establishing himself through hundreds of roles on television and in theater, becoming a familiar face to British audiences. But behind the stage and screen, Bernard Kay's private life was much more difficult. His marriage to actress Patricia Haynes seemed happy, but it only lasted 14 years before she died of cancer in 1977. Her death left a wound in Kay's heart that never healed. He refused to remarry, living the rest of his life alone, cherishing the memory of his late wife. Although he had no biological children, he was stepfather to Haynes's daughter with actor Michael Caine, a rare family connection that helped him cope with his grief. Kay's career continued to be steady, with numerous roles on stage, television, and film. From Saladin in Doctor Who to Shylock in The Merchant of Venice, he has always brought subtlety and emotional depth to his performances. But behind these roles is a man who lives quietly, with a lingering sadness for personal loss. He even won a literary prize in 2006 for the opening chapter of his memoir, Maybe a Bastard, in which he reveals the hardships of his childhood and the silent pain that marked his life. Bernard Kay died in London on Christmas Day, December 25, 2014, at the age of 86. He left behind an artistic legacy spanning more than half a century, along with an estate estimated at $1 million, a modest sum given his tireless contributions. Kay passed away quietly, but he will be remembered by audiences as a dedicated actor who brought life to countless roles and a soul who endured more private sorrow than he ever showed the world. Klaus Kinski as Kostoyed Amorsky. Klaus Kinski, born Klaus Günther Karl Nakszynski, was born on October 18, 1926 in Sopot, now Sopot, Poland. In 1965, at the age of 39, he appeared in the film Doctor Zhivago as Kostoyed Amorsky, an anarchist on a train carrying prisoners to exile. Despite his small role, Kinski's presence was memorable, thanks to his trademark charisma and intense gaze. Kinski's life was one of tension and turmoil. After World War II, he returned from a prisoner of war camp and saw both his parents killed by bombs, setting the stage for years of mental and emotional turmoil. Diagnosed with a personality disorder, he suffered from frequent violent outbursts on stage and in films. Colleagues, including director Werner Herzog, acknowledged him as a genius, but also described him as a disaster. His marriage was also turbulent, marrying 3 times and divorcing 3 times, leaving 3 children to grow up in fear and alienation. Years later, his daughter, Pola, published a memoir alleging that he had abused her throughout her childhood. Even Nastasia Kinski, the world-famous actress, described her as a violent man who terrified his children. These dark revelations forever linked his artistic genius to scandal. Klaus Kinski died suddenly on November 23, 1991, in Lagunitas, California, of a heart attack at the age of 65. He was cremated and his ashes scattered in the Pacific Ocean, with only his son Nikolai attending the funeral. Despite leaving behind a massive artistic legacy of more than 130 roles and an estimated $2 million fortune, Kinski's name remains synonymous with the endless struggle between his talent and the darkness of his own demons. Tom Courtenay as Pasha Antipov. Sir Thomas Daniel Courtenay was born on 25th of February 1937 in Kingston upon Hull, England. At the age of 28, he played Pasha Antipov in Doctor Zhivago, 1965, Lara's revolutionary husband, an idealist who gradually becomes a hardline Bolshevik leader. The role catapulted Courtenay to international stardom and earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, marking a career milestone. Despite being hailed as a leading figure of the British New Wave, Courtney was deeply skeptical. He admitted that he had never really loved filmmaking and often felt stifled by the pressures of fame. From the late 1960s onwards, while many of his peers pursued Hollywood glory, Courtney returned to the stage, where he found artistic freedom. This decision to turn his back on commercial cinema changed the trajectory of his career, making it more sedate but still respected by colleagues and critics. His personal life also experienced ups and downs. His marriage to actress Cheryl Kennedy from 1973 to 1982 ended in separation, leaving him with lingering sadness. It was only later, when he found companionship in Isabel Crossley, a theater manager at the Royal Stock Exchange, that he found peace and stability. Outside of work, Courtney maintained close ties to his hometown, returning regularly and even being granted freedom of the city. His memoir, Dear Tom, Letters from Home, 2000, a collection of correspondence between him and his mother, reveals a man who was deeply sensitive, sometimes fragile under the weight of success. In 2025, Tom Courtney is 88. He still lives in England with his wife Isabel, occasionally appearing in television or stage projects, although he now spends most of his time in peaceful retirement. With an estimated net worth of around $5 million, he may not be among the richest people in Hollywood, but his long career and unforgettable performances have cemented his status as a true icon of British cinema and theater. Rita Tushingham plays Tanya Komarova. Rita Tushingham was born on March 14, 1942, in Liverpool, England. In 1965, when she was only 23 years old, director David Lean cast her as Tanya in the epic film Doctor Zhivago, later revealed to be the daughter of Yuri and Lara. With her large, expressive eyes and natural acting style, Tushingham made a strong impression, quickly becoming one of the most iconic faces of British cinema at the time. But early fame also brought heavy pressure. Her roles in A Taste of Honey, The Leather Boys, and The Knack, and How to Get It Tackle all revolved around controversial themes such as unconventional love and youthful rebellion, and were met with harsh criticism from the press. At the height of her career, her personal life became unstable. Her first marriage to photographer Terry Bicknell ended in heartbreak, leaving her emotionally scarred. She then began a relationship with cinematographer Usama Rawi, but it also failed, forcing her to go through one painful breakup after another. The biggest blow to her family came when her daughter, Aisha, 33, was diagnosed with breast cancer. Tushingham largely gave up her career to accompany her daughter through her treatment, an experience that transformed her into a powerful voice for cancer awareness. Once known as a daring movie star, she quietly became a symbol of resilience and maternal strength, earning a deeper respect from the public. As of 2025, at the age of 83, Rita Tushingham is still remarkably vibrant, continuing to appear in projects such as The Responder, 2022. She lives in London, spends time with her family and social activities, and remains an icon of British New Wave cinema. With a career spanning over 6 decades, her net worth is estimated at $3 million, modest given her fame, but reflective of a life of enduring artistry and an indelible mark on film history. Tariq Sharif as Sasha. Tariq Sharif was born in March 1957 in Egypt, the only son of the legendary couple Omar Sharif and Fatem Hamama. In 1965, when he was about 10 years old, he made his screen debut in the epic Doctor Zhivago as Sasha, the son of Yuri and Tanya. Although it was only a small supporting role, his appearance attracted the audience because he represented a real family image in such a historical film. Unlike his world-famous father, however, Tariq Sharif did not pursue an artistic career. The pressure of being called Sharif forced him to retreat, disappearing from the screen after only a few films, including Avalanche, 1969. Growing up in the shadow of his father became a psychological burden, forcing him to choose a quiet life, away from the spotlight. His adult life was marked by family tensions. His parents' marriage broke down when he was young, leaving lasting emotional scars. Tarek himself kept to himself, living a private life while his son, Omar Sharif Jr., continued to carry the family's cinematic legacy onto the world stage. The constant comparisons to his father only served to alienate him further, distancing him from fame and public scrutiny. By 2025, Tarek Sharif would be 70 years old. He is still alive, living a quiet life, away from the glare of Hollywood. Geraldine Chaplin as Tanya Gromeko. Geraldine Lee Chaplin was born on 31st July 1944 in Santa Monica, California, the eldest daughter of the legendary Charlie Chaplin and Una O'Neill. At just 21, she made her mark on the international screen as Tanya Gromeko in Doctor Zhivago, 1965, the devoted wife of Yuri, overshadowed by his love for Lara. The role marked her first step out of her father's shadow, although the Chaplin name itself ensured that every role she took carried a heavy burden of expectation. Geraldine's childhood was filled with contradictions. As the daughter of a global star, she enjoyed the perks of fame but also endured the scandals surrounding her father. After her family fled the United States due to a government travel ban, she grew up in Switzerland, where she studied ballet and dreamed of becoming a dancer. When that dream was shattered, she turned to acting, a path both natural and haunting, with her father's name looming over her every success. Her personal life was equally complicated. She was in a relationship for more than a decade with Spanish director Carlos Saura, with whom she had a son, Shane, although they never married, a controversial choice at the time. Geraldine later had a daughter, Una, who was also an actress, and she married late in life, in 2006, to cinematographer Patricio Castilla. Perhaps the darkest chapter came in 1978, when she personally negotiated with criminals who had stolen her father's body, blackmailed her family, and threatened the safety of her son, a trauma that haunted her forever. In 2025, Geraldine Chaplin was 81 years old. She is still alive, occasionally participating in art projects across Europe, and is considered an icon of international multilingual cinema. After decades of hard work and carrying on her family legacy, her net worth is estimated at $20 million. But her true worth goes far beyond the numbers. With the image of a woman who dared to escape her father's shadow, created her own path, and is still a proud embodiment in the history of world cinema.